A light rain was falling when little Lily Carter walked across the wide street toward the tall glass building that shone like a silver mountain. Her shoes splashed quietly in small puddles, and her small hands held a brown envelope close to her chest. Her mother, Emma, was lying in bed at home, sick with fever. She had asked Lily to take some important papers to her boss at Silverline Company. Lily did not want her mother to lose her job, so she promised to go and return quickly. Inside the lobby, everything felt huge and bright. The floor was shiny and cold under her wet shoes. Busy people in neat suits walked fast and looked at their phones. Lily stood for a moment, not sure where to go. Then she walked to the front desk. The lady behind the desk looked up and raised her eyebrows when she saw the little girl. Lily said in a small but clear voice that she needed to take some papers to Mr. Ethan Cole, the company's big boss. The lady blinked and asked if her mother was one of the workers. Lily nodded and said her mom was sick and could not come today. For a moment, the lady looked unsure what to do. Then she picked up the phone. A few quiet words were spoken, and she looked surprised when she was told to let the girl come up. In the high office on the top floor, Ethan Cole sat behind a dark wooden desk. He was a tall man with sharp eyes and a face that never smiled. People called him the Iron Man of business because he rarely showed any feeling. He had built the company from nothing, and every decision in his life was clean, quick, and without softness. The sound of the elevator door and small footsteps outside his office door made him frown. The door opened a little. His assistant tried to explain, but before he could finish, a small voice said, "Thank you," and Lily stepped in carefully. She looked at the tall man behind the desk and swallowed hard. Ethan leaned back in his chair. He had expected a visitor, but not one under 4 feet tall. Lily walked up and held out the envelope with both hands. She said, "My mom is sick today, sir. She told me to bring this for you." Her voice shook a little, but she kept her chin up. Ethan took the envelope and looked down at her. His assistant waited by the door, watching with curious eyes. Ethan asked if her mother worked here. Lily nodded again and said, "She cleans the office at night. She did not want to miss work. I promised to help." Ethan looked at the little girl's serious face. Something about her calm courage made his chest tighten. He told his assistant to bring a towel because the child's jacket was wet. Lily thanked him politely and looked around the large office. She asked if he was the one who made all the big decisions. The corners of his mouth almost turned into a smile. He asked why she wanted to know. She said, "Because my mom says important people have heavy hearts. I wanted to see what a heavy heart looks like." Ethan looked at her closely. Her simple words felt sharper than fancy speeches he heard every day. He did not know what to answer, so he said her mom was lucky to have such a brave daughter. Lily smiled for the first time. She pulled out a small folded note from her pocket. It was a drawing of a sunrise with a stick figure woman holding a broom and a man with a briefcase standing beside her. Under it, she had written, "Thank you for my mom's job." Ethan looked at the drawing longer than he meant to. The rain outside had stopped, but drops still ran slowly down the window glass, like thin trails of silver. He asked if Lily wanted a hot drink before she left. She nodded shyly. While his assistant brought in a small cup of milk and cookies, Ethan sat quietly thinking about how far this child had come all by herself. When she finished, he told her the papers were received and her mother should rest without worry. As she turned to go, she looked at him again and said, "You should smile sometimes. It makes people feel sunshine inside." Then she walked out, holding her small bag. The door closed softly behind her. Ethan sat very still for a moment. The office felt different now, not as cold or empty as before. He looked again at the bright drawing on his desk. In the simple colors drawn by a little girl's hand, something in his heart began to move for the first time in years. The morning after Lily's visit, Ethan Cole still had the small drawing beside his computer. He had not told anyone about it. When his assistant asked if the paper could be thrown away, he quietly said to leave it where it was. The bright colors of the crayon sun gave his office a strange kind of light that no expensive painting ever had. During a meeting, his mind wandered. He kept seeing the little girl's face and hearing her words about smiling. It sounded like something he had not done in a long time. Years of chasing numbers had covered any easy joy inside him. The first time he left the building at lunch without his usual rush and walked down to a small shop near the street. There were toys and notebooks, and he stopped without knowing why. He bought a small stuffed bear holding a tiny heart and asked for it to be wrapped. That evening, one of the cleaning supervisors was surprised when the CEO appeared in the maintenance area. Ethan asked quietly whether Emma Carter had returned to work. The man said she was still at home recovering. Ethan nodded and then drove to a modest part of the city, where small houses leaned close together like old friends. When he knocked at the Carter's door, Emma was sitting up on the couch, pale but cheerful. She almost dropped her cup of tea when she saw who was standing there. Ethan introduced himself politely and said he came to check on her health. Emma tried to stand, embarrassed by her simple living room and worn furniture, but Ethan told her to rest. Lily ran from her room in surprise and hugged him like she had known him for years. She was proud to show him the book she liked and her mother's sewing machine. Ethan handed her the small gift. Lily's eyes widened when she opened it and saw the bear. She named it Mr. Coley right away. Watching her made Ethan smile without notice. Emma thanked him many times, but she also felt worried. She said she could not take such kindness from her boss and promised to return to work as soon as she was able. Ethan said no job could ever be stronger than health. He told her not to worry about her pay for the next few weeks. As he was leaving, Lily followed him to the door and asked if he worked at night too. He said sometimes. She told him that he should not because even bosses need to rest. Ethan laughed a little. It was a real laugh, short and quiet, but still something new. In the following days, he began to notice how different the office felt. His assistant said everyone was talking about how the CEO had been seen helping a child. People greeted him more kindly now. It unsettled him, yet it did not feel wrong. He even allowed a small plant to be placed near his window. One afternoon, while he was reading reports, a guard called to say that Lily was downstairs again. She had brought a new drawing for him. He told them to send her up. She carried a simple lunch her mother had cooked. Emma wanted him to taste her famous homemade soup, Lily explained, because he looked too thin. Ethan thought it was amusing, but accepted it politely. While he ate, Lily told him stories about her school, her friends, and her dreams of becoming an artist one day. Her way of speaking was bright and strange, mixing big words she had heard with her own made-up sayings. Ethan listened as if the numbers around him did not exist. For someone who dealt with millions of dollars, that short meal felt like a new kind of wealth. After she left, he called his human resources director. He asked them to review the situation of all cleaning workers, to make sure they had proper medical support. The order surprised everyone, but no one dared to question him. At night, Ethan sat at his desk again. Outside the tall windows, the city lights burned like tired stars. He looked at the little bear sitting on a shelf and the drawing of himself beside a stick-figure girl and a smiling woman. The scene made him remember his own mother, who had worked late and barely rested while raising him alone. He had pushed those memories deep inside and replaced them with ambition. Now, they returned quietly, and he could not ignore them anymore. Over the next week, he called to check on Emma's health many times. She grew stronger and promised Lily that she would return to work soon. Each call was short but warm, and Ethan noticed that her voice gave him a calm feeling he had not known for years. The day Emma returned, she tried to thank him again for his help, but Ethan said it was nothing. Workers were important and deserved care, he explained, but she could see something gentle behind his strict words. Lily came again that afternoon, waving from the door of his office and shouting that her mom was better. The sound of her laugh filled the wide room. Ethan turned to the window, but his reflection now seemed less hard and cold. Without meaning to, he smiled again. Life inside those glass walls had begun to breathe differently, as if one small girl had opened all the locked windows and let in fresh air for everyone. Emma Carter returned to work on a bright morning when the sun covered the city in soft gold. Her heart beat fast as she entered the tall building again. Every corner reminded her of long nights sweeping floors. This time, though, something felt different. People smiled more. The strict faces were slightly relaxed. She wondered if the change had something to do with her daughter's friendship with the company's boss. Upstairs, Ethan Cole was already in his office, reading reports before anyone else arrived. He looked calm but thoughtful. Since Lily's first visit, his mind seemed to open in new ways. It started greeting people in the hall. His voice had lost the sharp edge that once made others silent. When he saw Emma walk in carrying cleaning supplies, he stood and went to her. He asked how she was feeling. She said she was well and ready to work again. He thanked her for raising such a brave daughter. Emma blushed, unsure what to say to a man of his power. She told him that Lily talked about him every day. She said her daughter thought he was not as serious as his face looked. Ethan let out a quiet laugh, the sound surprising both of them. That day, while Emma worked, Ethan seemed distracted. He watched her from a distance as she carefully arranged things on the shelf. There was grace in the way she moved, humble but full of care. He admired that she took so much pride in her simple job. It stirred something hidden in him. During lunch, he called her to his office again and asked her opinion about keeping the workspace clean and safe. No one had ever asked her before. She spoke softly at first, then grew more confident, explaining how better schedules and supplies would help workers stay healthy. Ethan listened closely. When she finished, he said her ideas would be used to create a new policy. For the first time, Emma felt her words mattered. Later that week, Ethan held a small meeting with department heads. He announced changes to working conditions and ordered support for employees, families in need. Everyone was confused but pleased. The company began to feel more human. Ethan noticed that even his own work seemed easier now, that he understood more about the people behind it. One evening, Emma stayed late to finish a task. Ethan was walking down the hall and saw her rubbing her tired shoulder. He offered to help carry a box. She tried to refuse, saying it was not right for her boss to lift things, but he smiled and took the box anyway. They walked to the storage room together. Their steps echoed across the empty floor. On the way back, they stopped by a large window. The city night stretched below them, filled with tiny, shining points of light. Emma said it looked like a field of fireflies. Ethan nodded and said he used to love watching fireflies as a boy. She smiled and told him that maybe those lights down there were people trying to find their way home. For some reason, her words stayed with him long after she left. The next morning brought a small storm of gossip. Some workers had seen Emma and the CEO together late at night. Rumors spread like smoke through the office. Emma heard small whispers behind her and felt uneasy. She did not want others to think she was close to her boss for special favors. She worked twice as hard, hoping to silence the talk. Ethan heard about the rumors from his assistant. He was angry, not at Emma, but at the judgment in people's voices. He called a staff meeting and talked about respect and honesty. He said no one should be looked down upon for kindness. The room was quiet when he finished. Emma stood near the back, surprised by his words. After the meeting, Ethan found Emma in the hallway. He told her to ignore idle talk because truth would stand stronger than lies. She thanked him but still looked worried. He noticed how her hands trembled as she held her cleaning cloth. Without thinking, he told her she should take the day off and rest. She refused, saying work made her feel normal. He admired her pride and let her stay. Days passed, and the talk began to fade. Lily continued to stop by with small gifts. Once she brought a small plant and placed it on Ethan's desk. She said plants grow better when people talk to them with a kind heart. Ethan promised to try. Every morning, he gave the plant a quick greeting, feeling slightly foolish but secretly content. Gradually, the connection among the three of them grew stronger. Ethan would visit their home sometimes, and Emma would bring lunchboxes to his office. Lily's laughter filled spaces that had once been silent. The stiff man who once cared for nothing but profit now found himself pausing to watch simple moments of life. One quiet evening after they walked Lily home from a school event, Emma thanked him for helping her daughter dream bigger. Ethan looked at her shy eyes and said she and Lily had helped him remember what a heart was for. The air between them felt warm and real. As he watched them go inside, Ethan realized that the cold emptiness of his world was slowly being replaced by something much stronger. The days rolled forward with quiet rhythm. At Silverline Company, people began to notice how the office felt brighter and calmer. Ethan Cole had changed in ways that surprised everyone. He greeted staff by name and listened more than he talked. Some thought it was the influence of the cleaning worker, Emma Carter, and her daughter, Lily, who still visited often. One morning, Emma came to work with red eyes. Ethan saw her in the hallway and asked if she was fine. She said it was nothing serious, only that the rent for their small house had increased, and she was afraid they might need to move to a smaller place. Ethan felt concern rise in him. He had the money to solve her problem, yet he did not want to make her feel small. Instead, he told her that the company was starting a family help program and asked if she could help him design it. She agreed, happy for the extra hours and proud to contribute. Together, they worked after office hours reviewing plans. Ethan found comfort in those quiet evenings, sharing ideas. Emma had simple but smart solutions that he had never thought of. Her calm voice balanced his quick mind. Sometimes Lily sat in a chair nearby drawing while they talked. Each time Ethan looked at the child smiling at her papers, his heart eased. Soon their closeness became unavoidable news again. Few senior managers began whispering that the CEO might have lost focus. One of them sent an unsigned note to the board suggesting that Ethan's decisions were too emotional. The rumor grew quickly until one afternoon his partner from another branch called to warn him. Ethan read the message and felt anger for the first time in months. He did not like being doubted, and more than that, he hated that Emma's name was being dragged into gossip. That evening, he went straight to the cleaning department to find her. She was alone, wiping down desks. When she saw the look on his face, she froze. He told her about the rumors. Her hands shook, and her voice grew tight with worry. She said this was exactly what she had feared. She could not let her job cause him trouble. She would resign at the end of the week. Ethan felt a sharp jolt at her words. Told her she did not have to leave because of something untrue. She said sometimes words could hurt more than truth itself. The silence between them felt heavy. He wanted to tell her that she had become more than just an employee to him, but the right words stayed locked inside his chest. She walked away quietly, leaving him standing in the soft hum of office lights. For the next 2 days, the building felt hollow. Ethan tried to focus on his meetings, yet his thoughts drifted again and again to Emma and Lily. When a major contract went wrong, his stress multiplied. The partners demanded changes that could cause layoffs. It was a moment that tested everything he had built. He worked long hours, forgetting to eat or rest. His team avoided him because the calm mood had vanished. Late at night, he sat alone in his office, staring at the city lights. The drawing Lily had given him long ago was still on the desk. He remembered her voice telling him to smile. For the first time since that day, his eyes burned with tired sorrow. He realized that his world had become lonely again. Then a knock came on the glass door. When he looked up, he saw Lily standing there holding a small lunchbox. She said her mother had told her he was working too hard, and she would not sleep until she checked on him. Ethan felt a strange relief. She came over, placed the box before him, and said quietly that her mom was sad about quitting, but thought it was the right thing to do. Ethan closed his eyes for a moment, then said he did not want Emma to leave. Lily climbed on a chair beside him and said her mom often told her that people run away when they are afraid to care. Ethan asked if that was what she thought too. Lily nodded and said caring is the only reason people find each other. The words struck deep inside him. He walked Lily downstairs and called the driver to take her home. But before she left, she looked up and told him that her mom still kept the bear he had given her and that it made her brave. Then she hugged him and waved goodbye. That night, Ethan made a choice. He decided he would face every rumor and not hide what he felt. The next morning, he called a meeting with the board. He spoke clearly about the changes he had made, about how the company had grown stronger because people now worked with spirit and loyalty. He said kindness was not weakness. The board sat silent, unable to deny his results. The contract problem was resolved through his calm handling. When Emma arrived later that day with her resignation letter, he stopped her. He handed her a new paper, naming her as coordinator of the new staff welfare department. She stared at it in shock. Ethan told her the company needed someone like her, someone who understood real struggle. He also told her he hoped she could forgive the rumors and stay. Her eyes filled with tears, and she slowly nodded. For the first time, she saw the strong but gentle truth in his eyes. As she left his office, Lily ran to her mother and whispered that everything would be fine. Ethan watched them from the door, feeling warmth rise in his chest. The storm that had shaken all of them was ending, and sunlight was finding its way back once again. Months passed, and the city moved into gentle spring. Flowers lined the streets outside Silverline Company, and the air smelled of new life. Inside the tall building, everything seemed lighter. The workers greeted each other as friends. The new welfare department that Emma Carter led became a place of hope for many families. Her gentle way of listening helped solve small problems before they grew large. Ethan Cole often visited her office to see how the work was going, though everyone knew he came for more than reports. Ethan had become a different man from the cold leader who once ruled the company with silence. He spent time walking the floors, talking with people, asking about their families. He set up small scholarships for employees' children and started weekend community events. People began to call him a visionary, but he knew the real change had started with a little girl's brave heart. Lily was now the unofficial spirit of the office. Whenever she visited, the staff stopped their tasks to laugh and talk with her. She brought drawings to hang in the hallway and small snacks her mother made. Ethan let her place a tiny desk next to his so she could color while he worked. She called him Mr. Colbert, and no one dared correct her. One evening, the company held a gathering on the rooftop garden, space Ethan had built in memory of his late mother and to honor the families who supported the workers. There were lights strung along the railings, music in the air, and tables of simple food. Emma stood quietly at the side, wearing a pale dress borrowed from her neighbor. Ethan walked over and asked if she was enjoying the view. She said it was beautiful, showing the city as if it were glowing from the inside. He told her that her work had changed lives for many people. She lowered her eyes, thanking him, then said she only followed his leadership. He smiled and told her that she had given the company its soul. For a moment they stood together watching the sky darken. Later that night, Ethan gave a short speech to everyone. He spoke about growth, not measured by profit, but by the number of people who smile at work. He thanked the staff for standing with him through change and gave special mention to Emma and her efforts. The crowd clapped, and Emma felt her face warm with emotion. She saw Lily near the front, clapping louder than anyone else. After the event ended and people began to leave, Ethan stayed by the garden's edge, looking over the city. Emma came to thank him for everything he had done for her and Lily. She said they would always be grateful for his kindness. Ethan turned and said he should be the one thankful because they had given him a reason to live differently. He told her about the first time he saw her daughter walk into his office carrying that old envelope. He said he had been blind to simple goodness until that day. Emma listened in silence, her heart beating faster. He said that since then, he had wanted to be someone her daughter could look up to. Then he added softly that somewhere along the way, he had also fallen in love with the woman who had taught him what kindness meant. Emma covered her mouth with her hands, unsure how to answer. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The sounds of the city filled the space between them, gentle and alive. She looked up at him and saw nothing of the cold man he used to be. She said she never thought life would give her a new beginning like this. He stepped closer, keeping his voice steady. He told her love had been waiting all along in small moments, and they had both simply learned to see it. Lily ran toward them, holding 2 paper cups of juice. She held them up proudly and said they must cheer because the garden was officially her favorite place. Ethan bent down and said then it must stay her garden forever. The girl laughed and declared that it belonged to all of them, since their hearts were tied like strings. The 3 of them sat on a bench while the night deepened. Ethan listened to Lily describe her dream of owning a small art shop one day. Emma rested her hands on her daughter's shoulders, her eyes full of warmth. The old pain of worry, long nights, and lonely work felt far away now. Before leaving, Ethan promised to visit their home the next Sunday for dinner. Lily made him promise to bring his favorite food so she could learn to cook it. Said he would. As they stepped into the elevator, Emma looked at him once more. She said softly that he had changed her life more than he knew. He answered that she and Lily had changed his heart forever. When the doors closed, Ethan turned back toward the rooftop, letting the cool wind touch his face. The city lights below sparkled like the picture Lily had drawn long ago. He smiled, thinking of how one small act from a sick mother and her brave little girl had built an invisible bridge between hearts. The next morning, sunlight poured through the glass walls of his office. The drawing of the stick figures was still pinned on his wall. It showed a man holding hands with a woman and a child. Underneath, written in Lily's careful handwriting, were the words, "Our family of sunshine." Ethan looked at it and knew that life, when shared by true care, was the richest success a person could ever claim.